Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going, and as I like to remind you each and every day, it expands our base. Elections have consequences, and guns continue to be fired throughout America. I want to talk about what happened in New York, the shooting outside of the Hilton Hotel of the CEO of a major American company. I want to talk about what happened in Oroville, where in a school, a shooting took place, and there is no real logic or explanation for it. I want to point out that the Secret Service, the acting head, is meeting today to talk about what went wrong when there was an attempt on Donald Trump's life. All of these issues have to do with guns. And of course, these are just three issues highlighted on the news this morning. But there's a real consequence here. We know that the National Rifle Association, the most powerful gun lobby in America, endorsed Donald Trump for president, backed Donald Trump enthusiastically, and Donald Trump embraced them. We know that Republicans in Congress are not interested in any kind of legislation to deal with guns, whether it's background checks or flagging or, well, you name it. And so we are left with a real problem. It seems to me that this problem that plagues America of mass shootings, and yes, individual acts of violence with guns, is going to continue because there is no restraint, no effort to do anything to prevent it on the part of our government. I am reminded that when Lyndon Johnson was president of the United States, after the assassinations of Dr. King and Robert Kennedy, he proposed gun control legislation. And although you may not remember it, it passed. You might Google Lyndon Johnson and guns, 1968, and you will hear his eloquent statement. Remember, Lyndon Johnson was from Texas. He was a shooter. Believe me, I know. And of course, there's a very famous story of Bobby Kennedy Jr. going down to the ranch and being given a gun and firing it off as he was hunting. Same thing happened to Hubert Humphrey. Johnson was not afraid of guns, and he believed in the Second Amendment. But he also believed that there had to be some restraints, some controls, some background checks. And so the question which I am posing this morning really has no answer. But it is a clear and self-evident proof that when Republicans control the Congress and the presidency, and regrettably the Supreme Court, that the odds of any legislation, any effort to control the proliferation of guns and gun violence, well, sinks to practically nothing. The late Dianne Feinstein introduced legislation in 1994, which passed, which put some controls on automatic and semi-automatic weapons. But there was a 10-year sunset on that legislation, and 10 years later, in 2004 rather, when the Republicans controlled the House and Senate and the White House, it died. So here's my question, for which there is no answer. Is there any way that we can do anything in our society to control the proliferation of guns? Is there anything that can be done which will ameliorate what is truly a tragic situation? Whether it's shootings in schools, shootings at events, shootings of individuals, and how do we cope with it? There is a serious problem in our country. And now we know, as a result of the election of 2024, that from a legislative point of view, from an executive point of view, nothing is going to be done to try to stem the tide of gun violence. People ask me when I travel abroad, is America safe? And my answer is yes, America is safe, but there is no doubt that there is a flaw. It could be, if you are in the wrong place at the wrong time, a fatal flaw. And that is, well, illustrated yesterday with a man walking across the street to the Hilton Hotel in New York, not suspecting a thing, when a gunman came up behind him, shot him in the leg, then shot him in the back, and then made sure he was dead, and then vanished without a trace. Maybe the other example is what happens in the streets of America with gun violence. When it's not somebody famous, when it's not an incident which deserves headlines, these kinds of shootings happen. And maybe, just maybe, we should be thinking seriously about the implications when it comes to guns when we go to the polls. It didn't happen in this election. Too many issues to consider, too many questions to deal with. But think about it, please. Think about where we stand. Think about those who are affected by gun violence. Think about the people affected by Sandy Hook and the innumerable shootings that have taken place in this country. It is something that the American conscience has to wrestle with. And there's no reason why we cannot address this question without infringing on the Second Amendment. So it's a question. And in a way, I could have talked about many things this morning, but I wanted to do it because it's so fresh. New York, Oroville, the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. All these issues are headline issues, and every single one of them goes back to gun violence. Think about it. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. Make sure to follow along and let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand. Give me your feedback on Facebook, LinkedIn, and, many of you call me, and I'm delighted to receive those calls. And, of course, my special appreciation to Gogo Zoger, the wonderful producer of this podcast. That's it for Around the Political World with John Rothman for today, but we will be back tomorrow, right here with you. Have a great day.